Hi, my name is Jen Caro, and today I want to discuss with you the master control position and how it's integrated with the throttle interlock on common chainsaws used within our industry. The reason I want to kind of discuss this with you today is so that we can find clarity in the terminology that is used in our professional industry. So let's take a look at two chainsaws that I have here in front of me. So we're going to take a closer look with comparison to the MS201 versus the MS260. Okay, I've got both of these saws broken down so we can take a closer look at what's actually happening inside as we adjust from those different master control positions in relation to that integration of that throttle interlock system. Okay, so for starters, when I put this chainsaw down into that full choke position, so all the way down on our 4 controls, okay, we're going to see here that our choke shutter has completely closed off there. Okay, and as I move that position, that master control position, up into what I call the high idle position, we can see that that choke shutter is now just about all the way open. Okay. Now, if the saw were running, we would then blip that saw, giving it a pull of that trigger, and now we can see that that choke position is fully open. Okay. So when we compare that over here to our MS260, okay, we have a little bit of a different setup here. We're inside. All we see here is the internal throttle shutter. Okay, so this one here, that choke position is built right into our air filter. Okay, so when we move that master control position, we can see that there's actually a little black bar across here that's got a little tab on the bottom side that's gonna make movement there. Okay, and as we move that and adjust it, we can see that that tab begins to stand up. Okay, so now when we look at our air filter system here, that's what's going to be controlling this little tab on that, which is controlling our choke system that's built into our air filter. Okay, so I've got one broken down here that I'm just going to quickly install so we can take a closer look at what's actually happening as we change those master control positions. So right now we can see that we've got that into the full choke position. Okay, so that tab is sticking right up, pushing that tab up, which then fully closes that choke. Okay, as we switch that up into the high idle, that moves that up and that fully opens that choke system. Okay, so when we take a really close look at that, the black tab beneath is actually not even engaging that white tab anymore. Okay, and then as we change that again to our idle position, we can see that completely releases, but there's no more change in that choke system. So this chainsaw goes from a full choke position to a completely open choke system in high idle and idle positions. So now let's take a closer look at our throttle position. So we've talked about the choke shutter here. Now inside this MS201, you can't quite see the throttle shutter that's inside that carburetor there. But on the side here, you can see that little spring, and that's what controls that throttle position inside. Okay, and that's directly connected to our metal bar here, which controls our trigger. Okay, so when I take a look at this from the side, I want to take a closer look at this little black tab that's making the movement inside this system. So this black tab right here, we can see the shape of it's got a little jet out, and it's going to make contact with and movement with this opposing side of that throttle. So as I'm pressing down on that trigger system, you can see movement there. So right now I'm going to switch this master control position all the way down into the choke position, and now we can see where that throttle is completely pushed down, making contact with that black tab of our master control. Okay, as I move that up into high idle, we can see that that catches our tab on the bottom side here. And then I'm going to move it once more into our idle position. And now we've got that resting nicely inside of that throttle. And there's our off position. So let's take a look at that same setup, but this time we're looking at our MS260. And inside here is going to be our throttle shutter. Okay, so when I move this trigger interlock system all the way into the choke position, let's try and get a little light in there, we can see that that shutter is just ever so slightly cracked open there. Okay, as I move that throttle or master control position up into high idle, we can see it just opens up ever so slightly more. And then I'm going to blip that trigger, and there is our idle position, where that shutter now closes unless we pull that trigger and open that throttle position all the way.